Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, welcome to This is a Revolution, your weekly podcast of all things RevPro. I'm George, here to give you an Uprising preview with my good friend, Mr. Dave Lamar. How do you, Dave?
Yeah, all right, mate. All right, thank you very much. I very much enjoyed my final trip to Sheffield of the year on Sunday, and I'm very much looking forward to Uprising on Saturday. Feels like a really big year is all coming to a head with that kind of season finale that we keep talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it definitely feels like the last day of the season before we go away for the summer, and in this case, we go away until February, which I'm really worried for you, Dave. I'm not gonna lie, mate. I'm really worried for you. That many weeks out RevPro.
I've got rugby tickets. Me and my brother are going to go and watch Bedford Blues on for his birthday. That's one weekend.
Yeah, nice.
I don't know what I'll do with the other weekends. I have to spend time with my kids and my wife.
Say spend time with your family, mate. What's that all about?
Mate, I know. That's like, one day at the weekend is enough for them. Any more than that, and I get a bit much. So
yeah, they'll be buying you tickets to Progress before you know it, mate. Finding wrestling wherever you can, booking a trip to Butlins in January.
Yeah, mate, I'll be flying out to New Japan to go and watch Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty.
Oh, mate, you know what? That's a bucket list thing for me. Even though I don't watch New Japan very often, when they announced Wrestle Dynasty, and I'm glad that you pronounced it the right way as well, not Dynasty. When they announced that, I was like, oh, do I do that? And then I got a cheeky bonus from work that I was like, straight away I was like looking at it and going, how much are tickets to Japan? No, it's not enough for me to go just yet. But tempting as it is. But season finale. We've got a great show to kind of go over and predict here today, and kind of give our thoughts of what we think is going to happen. Like I said, a season ender. Might throw in a random couple of curveball predictions I think might happen as well throughout. But yeah, really looking forward to seeing where this can lead into 2025 as well. And like you said, this year has felt like a massive year for RevPro. We'll talk about it more probably on our end of year stuff that we do, but it really feels like the company has leveled up massively this year. And even from last year, which was a very good year, this year just feels like it's on another level compared to last year.
I think that next year already looks like it's going to be more ambitious than this year as well. The return of the contender shows feels quite significant.
Yep.
The Coventry season tickets, the 2 Doncaster shows, you can see the growth. You can see how the number of shows is likely to increase. The growth that took place this year with like the trips to Germany, the trips to Spain, they're sustainable now because they're both booked in for next year. But you can see how the other events have been added in to bolster it. And for me, this year was all about kind of securing the divisions within RevPro, and the fact that we've developed that women's division. Like just be something that's really, really kind of like competitive with any other women's division in the world. The tag division and the cruiserweight division, they kind of like they simmer and boil at different points. Because you can't have everything boiling at the same time, because the schedule, although it is ambitious, it's not as full as a company would need it to be to have everything firing on all cylinders. You're not talking about 2 shows a week every single week. But I do feel like they've really explored British talent this year. It's both combining kind of the experienced and the fresh and the new. It's been a great year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've said that a lot during this year, that there would have been a time when your foreign talent is there to sell you on the British talent. Whereas now I think the foreign talent is there to give you that added extra and being like, hey, this is the thing you don't get as often. Like Serena, Deeb is something you don't get as often. But you go, oh, it's not like, oh, maybe I see what this is like. And who's this Kanji woman? It's like, oh, oh, that match against Kanji, that's a good pairing. Like, that's the sort of thing we've got this year. And I think how RevPro have really used their imports, I think, is very different from how other companies in the country have used them. But then this is where I say that even though RevPro are technically an independent, they straddle the line somewhere between like indie, but almost like bigger company. Like, really, the thing that RevPro don't have is that massive financial backing that like an AEW, a New Japan, or a WWE would have, right? That's probably the difference in terms of size, but in terms of quality, amount of matches and shows they're putting on a year, you could argue somewhere comparable.
I think that you've got debates over the biggest independent companies in the world. I don't know enough about the American independent scene to be able to comment on it. And obviously, we've got the bias of going to see RevPro, whereas I haven't been out to America to see American indies. But RevPro has to be in that conversation. And because it has to be in that conversation, it is like, that's massive, isn't it? Which other independent wrestling companies have had their titles defended in Madison Square Garden and had their titles defended in the Tokyo Dome? Like, that's... No one else can claim that. Nobody else at all. So that is, that's what I think one of the things that makes RevPro the most attractive kind of indie out there. And look at what we've learned this week with the knowledge that the winner of Dani Luna versus Mina Shirikawa defends the undisputed British Women's Championship against Mercedes Moné.
Absolutely. Well, Dave, that seems like a great place to start the conversation, right? So before we get into the card proper, two bits of business to address first. Firstly, we are going to be doing our end of year award show in the next week or couple of weeks, because we're almost at the end of the year. As we record this, Christmas is just 1 week away. When did that happen? But we've already got the form out there. People are starting to fill it in. We've got, as of standing, I think, 16, 17 responses so far. So I was thinking might get somewhere between 15 to 20. And we're already well on our way there. A lot of people have interacted with posts that we've put up, so they want to be involved. If you want to, just drop one of us a DM. Let me know. Come to me on Twitter is probably your best option, or Instagram, and just send me that, and I'll send you a link. We are doing it by link purely because there have been some trolls I've seen out there doing it, and I just don't want people, the very first time we try to get to grips with this and work out how it all works, just going to keep it via DM this year. But if you would like to be involved, please do let one of us know, and we can give you the link to be involved in that. We're going to keep it open for around another 10 days from today, so we're recording this on the 17th. So if you'd like to take part, please feel free. It's just a bunch of fun, and is going to contribute to our end of year awards, which would be great. Second bit of business. What was that second bit of business? I just went off on that was it, Dave.
I'm assuming, my friend, you were going to say that we're recording this with 6 of the 7 matches announced.
No, that wasn't what I was going to say, but that's a very good point, actually. Obviously, we're recording the 6 of the 7 matches announced. One more match to be announced. We will speculate throughout what we think those matches could be, and maybe we can give a quick prediction on what we think either of those would be based on what we think that match is going to be. Because it's important we do that, Dave, because what we're going to do is our new style for these event shows, the previews for the event, so the ones that are not necessarily just London shows, but have got the names. They're not just live in, they're your raw deals, all that sort of jazz. We're going to try a different tact, and we're going to try and do some predictions and keep a little bit of a tally and a leaderboard going. So even though this is the last one of the year, since it's the first time we do this, I say we just include this as part of our tally right the way through to next Uprising. And we go with that. We make the rules here. So what we'll do is we'll do it typical style, a point per correct prediction, and then we'll do a joker as well. So you get one pick, and you can pick who your joker's going to be, and that will double your points. So actually, maybe let's go 5 points for a correct, and if you get the joker, you double it, you get a full 10 points. There we go. That's what we'll go with there. So the first match that we'll speak about then is the Undisputed British Women's Championship match between champion Mina Shirikawa and Dani Luna. So Dave, you mentioned obviously the interesting news there, because I won't lie, I woke up a couple of mornings ago. I was like, what the fuck is this that Dave's texting me? And like eyes and glasses are going on. I'm like, oh, he's just posted something about Mercedes Moné, but it didn't click that the New Japan event had been held in America. So it took me a while to wake up a bit more, and then I was like, oh shit, like this is significant. How does this affect what your predictions would have been for the match going into it?
So it doesn't for me, really, because I had Mina now down to beat Dani on Saturday anyway. I think this makes me even more confident. Like, to clarify, the match in Japan at the Tokyo Dome will be Mercedes Moné versus Mina Shirikawa. It will be for the New Japan Women's Championship. But if Mina is still the RevPro champion, that title will be undefended as well. So if Dani was to win, she's not going to be involved in a match with Mercedes Moné, but that championship wouldn't be online when Mina faces Mercedes. However, this does absolutely scramble my brain, because then you think about, does that mean that Mina Shirakawa is going to beat Mercedes Moné in Japan? Or does it mean that Mercedes Moné is going to be the undisputed British Women's Champion? Which is like mind-blowing if that's the case. That's like AJ Styles level when he carried the British heavyweight championship. In fact, I would say it's even bigger than when AJ
I would agree.
did.
Yeah.
Because Mercedes Moné, as her history as Sasha Banks, you don't get bigger than that.
No.
I think arguably, you're talking about those four horsewomen as being the biggest names in women's wrestling anywhere in the world. Simply from from exposure, from name value, from the millions and millions of people that have watched their matches and recognize their faces, to even to her appearing in Star Wars TV shows and stuff, like the whole bigger side, all the stuff that's important outside of just the wrestling. That's massive. In terms of the match itself, I was a little bit surprised that they went with this, because that's two copper box rematches for the next sort of biggest event of the year, in terms of like the next big event lined up in the year. I'm not suggesting that Uprising is a bigger event than High Stakes, because I think that holds that spot, especially this year, due to the fact that it was in the larger venue and it had the Osprey goodbye. I do, though, think that Dani and Mina's match at the Copper Box left enough on the table that we can have another really good match without... In fact, I expect this one to be better. I think it will get more time. I think it will benefit from the 7-match card as opposed to the 11-match card that we had at the Copper Box. But I do think Mina wins. I think Mina retains the championship. And my feeling prior to the Mercedes announcement was that Mina carries this belt long enough for her to be able to take it to Stardom with her.
Okay.
I still think that, which makes me think that Mina beats Mercedes Moné in Japan. I just don't know what that looks like from a what that match looks like, how that match finishes. Does Mercedes lose? It's that whole part of it. That's kind of at the moment feels like a non-Rev Pro issue, but it will become a Rev Pro issue if Mina wins on Saturday. So we will see.
Yeah, I'm just looking something up, because I remember over the weekend I had something that popped into my head, and I can't remember when it was. Okay, so what was really interesting to me about this announcement so I originally had Dani Luna. Now I'm gonna be up front with my prediction. I'm changing my prediction to Mina Shirikawa, and I'm using my Joker. Okay, all that is the match for me that the Joker is being used on. Unlike you, I thought that Mina wasn't here. She was here for a good time, not a long time. Okay, and we're gonna get Dani take the title because the women's title has much felt like the tag belts were under GYV. Maybe not quite as bad because Mina has been here and defended. Okay, so that's already better than where we were, and it hasn't been quite as long. But it felt like we were missing a piece of the puzzle, especially with the great stuff the Cutthroat Collective story had told. So I thought maybe we're not going to get that. And then I had a thought of something when this Mercedes stuff was coming out, because I thought, well, maybe the plan all along was to get the belt onto Mercedes, right? As weird as that sounds, maybe that was the goal for this. And I thought, well, no, why would that be the goal? Who would have faced Dani Luna if Mina hadn't originally had to step in? Mm-hmm. Who's the original?
Yeah,
the great match at Forbidden Door as well. And I think looking at, it was Forbidden Door, wasn't it? Or am I getting my events right? Anyway, I think Steph Vicaire was announced before. She was announced before because she's actually in the promo picture holding the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. But obviously that match was so widely revered. Was someone like Andy Quildan looking, going, could we have been trying to work towards this match down the line? And therefore that, I don't know, I'm getting myself into all of these kind of headspaces and going, maybe that was a plan, but then that's been scuppered. And then I don't know. Here's me going. Andy's trying to book what was in AEW. So then I was like, well then maybe that means that Mercedes is definitely going to take the title. And everything you've said about from a commercial viability, right? We're not, and this is us talking without even saying what a great wrestler she is. Okay, Mercedes for me in WWE when NXT. She was untouchable in a lot of ways. On the WWE main roster, there were things character-wise where I think she wasn't being portrayed as best suited to her. And sometimes in the ring, I felt she could be wildly inconsistent. She had great matches and then matches that sometimes felt like they bordered on reckless a little bit. I want to say reckless, not with her opponent, with her own body. When she came into AEW, it took me a while to warm up to her, but I feel that she's definitely found her footing now. I think that she's, for someone who's so confident, it felt like she was maybe holding back a little bit, maybe not as confident, but I think she's hitting everything, and the ring work that we're seeing from her now is just top notch. So I've got absolutely no worries if she was to come over. And I think, like I said, you've got the Star Wars stuff going on, all of that jazz, and then you've added in there WrestleMania main eventer, right? That's a big. So for the casuals, you could quite easily do a high stakes poster for your first poster. You drop high stakes and just allude to her, and the tickets will fly for it, right? Tickets go pretty well for these events anyway. You could just put that out there straight away. Put a picture of her on a poster, job done. You don't have to promote any matches for a month at least. You could just go based on that alone. That in itself, would that pay for it? I don't know, but it's an interesting concept. But one of the things I think this has thrown up is, I feel like, and I've just done it, I've just talked over a match between Mina and Dani, okay, and shouldn't lose sight of that match on Saturday. I think it'll be a good match. Much like you said, I think it will really benefit from having a bit more time. That's the one area where I think that it didn't quite benefit from at the Copper Box. Mixed with that, probably, we both talked about how we thought Steph Vicaire was going to take the title, but probably didn't expect Mina to. So it felt in the match when it happened, it just kind of, the finish kind of came out of nowhere a little bit as well. So those sorts of things, like you said, probably left a little bit on the table where it goes, hey, this set us up really nicely for the rematch down the line. let's build towards that now. I think it'll be a really fun match on Saturday. But yeah, Mina Shirikawa going over. Joker pick for me. Mina Shirikawa for you, Dave?
Yep, Mina for me, mate.
Wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. Okie dokie. Right, leads us on to the next women's match on the card as I'm looking at the card in front of me. Serena Deeb versus Kanji. Now, I remember the texts go back and forth. I saw this going, oh, that's a pretty good match. I'm a Serena Deeb fan. I'm a fan of everyone on the card, but to be fair, for me to go to this, I think I've mentioned, a lot of people ask me if I'm going. I'm not. I'm hosting Christmas. My mum is classed as vulnerable. I can't risk getting ill just before Christmas, because if I do, I could get her seriously ill. So it sounds really harsh when I turn around and say, so it's going to take a big match for me to risk that. And this was one of those announcements, so I was like, any other time this would get me there. I think it's going to be a really great match. I'm glad that it's been given to Kanji as well. This, to me, what this feels like, it feels like two things. It feels like the last opportunity of the year to close out Kanji in a big way in RevPro, because she's in a real rich vein of form at the moment. But two, it almost feels like a bit of a thank you to her by being like, hey, your year here has been so great. Let's give this match to you at the end of the year as a way to say thank you to that.
It really has, mate. Like Kanji, this has been her most prolific year in RevPro, which is like quite a thing because she's been around the company for years, and she's been a regular for years. But she's wrestled more times this year than in any previous year. She's been given really high profile spots.
Mm-hmm.
She's taken them like hands down each time. She's been integral to the whole Cutthroat Collective storyline and has been like consistently worked well with everyone that she's wrestled and wrestled with. She's been sort of like the probably the women's wrestler of the year in RevPro. For this match, I can't think of a RevPro match that I would want to see booked more than this match. Genuinely, Serena Deeb is quite possibly my favourite non-Rev Pro women's wrestler anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't aware of her prior to AEW. I never watched anything she did in WWE back in the day. The match she had with Rio in at Daly's place, that kind of like, I don't know if you remember it, but the sun was setting in the background to their match, and they just had this absolute clinic. That for me was like the moment when I was like, do you know what? She is more than just a really good wrestler. Like, she's my favorite wrestler to watch, like my favorite women's wrestler anywhere on the scene to watch, because she is like an absolute technician. She is like a female Bret Hart, and I know a lot of her image has been based around that, like the Professor and Deeb's Dojo and all of that. It's been very mirrored around Bret Hart, but as an absolute Bret Hart mark growing up, that appealed to me so much. So you've got this amazing technician, you're bringing her into RevPro, you can pick any RevPro woman to wrestle her. So they give her the best technical women's wrestler in the company and give her Kanji. And that is just, I'm going to be like literally on the edge of my seat, gawping at this the entire time, just admiring and basking in the glory of every little bit of technical nuance that they incorporate, all of the fantastic submission holds and transitions from them. This for me is like Zack Sabre Jr. versus Hechicero.
That's a really good comparison, actually. Like you said, it's going to be a technical masterclass, I think. Deeb is great. I never, ever really picked up on the imagery to Bret Hart, but now you've said it, I can see it all. Like, I can see it all. And even back in like Hart Foundation days when he would carry the flag and Deeb come out with the Deeb Dojo flag as well, I'm like, of course. Like, how did I not see this before? just going to be really great. But a tremendous way for Kanji to end out the year. It was actually a match in progress. It was Kanji versus Nina Samuels in January. That's what really made me sit up and take notice. And actually, not even when I was there live, or one that I was watching on stream. And you could see those intricacies. We spoke about that we see it more when we're there live. But the way the camera work was done on that, they were got really good. You got to see a lot of the footwork and a lot of the really close submissions. And it really made me sit up and take notice of both Kanji and Nina Samuels that bit more and go, hey, maybe what I felt watching these previously, there's a bit more in here than actually I probably realised. And watching those matches throughout the year, the Steph Vicaire match at Fantastica Mania being the highlight of her year at that point for me. And since then, it's like, here's the ball, run with it. And she's gone, yep, I've run with it. I'm going to score a touchdown, get a try, and score a goal. Whatever sport you want, I'm scoring that goal. Like, she's a dead cert for just putting on fantastic performances. Faring very well in a number of categories in our end of year awards. As a surprise to no one, across the board in pretty much every category she can be voted in, Kanji is there. So she's clearly connecting with the fans as well. Who do you see taking a win here, though, Dave?
I think Serena Deeb does. Not enough for me to put my joker on it, but I do think Serena Deeb wins.
Okay. Do you see Serena Deeb taking the win, just taking the win, or do you see something happening in the match that causes a Kanji loss?
I see a clean Serena win. I don't think they'll muddy the waters with this match. I think it's too pure a wrestling match to mess around with.
Mm-hmm.
But that does allude to the fact that I don't see a way that Cutthroat Collective are not on this show. So there's a 7th match to be announced. Maybe that's them. But at the same time, maybe that's not them, because it felt like another match was set up in Sheffield. So if it isn't Cutthroat Collective in that 7th match, then I definitely feel they'll be involved. If they're going to be involved, I think it's more likely they get involved with Kanji than they get involved with Dani Luna. So I do feel like there will be some kind of presence felt after this match, but after it, not during it.
Interesting. So I think I am going to go with a Kanji win. But I also think after the match, Cutthroat Collective come out, and I think this somehow sets up a match with the Cutthroat Collective featuring a team of Kanji, probably Chantal Jordan, Serena Deeb, and Medusa Complex. That's what that's.
Serena's going to be back.
I do. I think. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. We know who she's married to, so she's probably over here for Christmas. Spend some time here. So this could be a one and done, right? But I think the thing that I'm seeing from a lot of people that come over is they're really getting enamored and falling in love with RevPro, right? There's something about wrestling at the level RevPro is, where it's able to be small and independent, but still have these grand stages like York Hall. It's got a bit of everything, a bit of history to it. I think that something like that's going to happen there, and I think we'll see. I think Serena Deeb over the next year could be the female Leo Rush.
I'd love
in
that.
How she used. So
yeah, so much.
I could see her announce for something like this, or coming to Sheffield or Southampton and put on a match there.
From a business point of view, they've got season tickets to sell. So you think, realistically, no one's going to buy a season ticket after the first event. Mm-hmm. That's the whole point, isn't it, of getting all of the shows at a discount. So they've got January and the start of February, the end of this month, obviously, to sell those tickets.
Mm-hmm.
So stick a big name at the 229, get people to see it, realise there's season tickets available, buy their season ticket, and, they did that 2 years ago with Ospreay versus Eddie Dennis at the 229 on the first 229 of the year. I could see that sort of thing being done, sticking a big match there to get those season tickets sold.
Yeah.
I think the Sheffield and Southampton season tickets are a little bit different because there's so much wrestling in London that there's more competition with other companies to get people to go to every 229 show.
Yeah.
Whereas I notice in Southampton and Sheffield, you generally see the exact same faces every single month.
Yeah.
So I feel like the 229 is probably the one where something like that could happen.
I would agree with you because obviously this year as well we had Leighton Buzzard versus Minoru Suzuki at the February.
Yeah.
I think it was January or February 229 as well.
That was the second 229 of the year.
Oh, was it? Okay.
And on the first one, they had Callum Newman come back.
Of course they did. Yeah, I forgot. It feels like so long ago, yet not that long ago as well. But I would agree with you on that. I think it's interesting to me that because like Southampton and Sheffield, I see bigger names coming, but I don't see like the need, like you said, for the season tickets there. Like you said, London, they really compete. And like the difference to me is you've got one venue where they're selling season tickets with guaranteed front row. They're not doing it elsewhere, right? So there's a reason for that. I could see this being something like Deeb going into that role. I had initially thought that's where Medusa Complex come in. Their first match is 229 February. But I could also see that being Serena Deeb, right? And yeah. So you're going Deeb, I'm going Kanji on that one. Interesting. First difference. Now, Dave, we alluded to the fact that we think there'll be another match set up in some way, shape, or form. We've kind of said that the matches that make sense from a not on the card, like there has to be a Cutthroat Collective match. Like it'd be surprised if there's not. But the other match that they kind of started setting up looked to be at first a 5-on-5 match. You thought, and I thought 2 separate matches. But to be fair, this is what I thought 2 separate matches because I was thinking an 8-man card originally. Sorry, an 8-match card, which would have still left room for a Cutthroat Collective match, being Caven, True, and Lacey against CPF. So I suppose let's look at both. If the Cutthroat Collective do have a match, who do you think it'll be against?
So all along I've been saying Medusa Complex. I don't feel like at this stage, with only a couple of days to go before the event, they're going to randomly drop that. I think they would have announced it already.
Agreed.
So I think if there is a Cutthroat Collective match, I don't think it'll be all 5 of them. I think it will be a pair.
Yeah.
And then it would be whether they reward someone like Anita Vaughan with like a big moment on a big stage, someone like that. I'm actually thinking that that's the less likely option because of the fact once they announced Kanji versus Serena Deeb, it suddenly felt like the Team RevPro was lacking its leader. So I had thought maybe it would be a Medusa Complex versus Cutthroat Collective tag team match, or 5-on-5 potentially, but it was struggling to think who the 3rd, 4th, and 5th people will be. But the CPF versus True and Lacey and Caven feels very likely now because they really unnecessarily set that up in Sheffield.
Yeah.
Like there was no need to do that if it wasn't leading to an imminent payoff. And I think that's a really cool match for this show. It's a first York Hall appearance for 5 of those 6 wrestlers. You know, CPF have not wrestled York Hall before for RevPro, and neither have True and Lacey. Only Caven has. Even then, Caven hasn't done it when he has been this version of him where he feels like a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, he was the 4th man of a fatal 4-way match on his first appearance at York Hall. Even though the story was really built around him, you'd say that the fact that they pulled Dan Maloney into that match with Luke Jacobs and Robbie X, Caven kind of at the time, presentation-wise, felt like the lesser of the 4 stars.
Right.
Whereas now he feels like a big deal in this match. You know, he's going in with the championship belt. For me, if that's the match, I think that CPF win because I assume that their trophies are on the line. And I don't think you have them lose when they've gone through the whole trios tournament to win those trophies.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Certainly watching from home, the way it was portrayed, seeing them all lift the trophies, the reasoning they gave being that obviously they were the only team put in a position where they had to qualify. This being true, Lacey and Caven. It was just like, why did everyone else get in? Why did we have to qualify? So you've got the reason there for them having that beef to start with. I can't see CPF losing. Personally, I think it would undermine the first trios tournament. You don't have your champions of it defend their trophies for winning it and then lose it. Like, that just, to me, doesn't make sense. Again, I will always say and preface this every time, if that does happen, I will trust the booking, right? Because invariably, RevPro shows us, even when you can't see it sometimes, go, okay, that was good. Whether it was intentional, whether it was a pivot, whatever. I've always had my trust. So, but I struggle to see how they could, this one particular, pay that off for me in a way. I think they're obviously building to what it could be, what they're going to use their shots for. So this is a great way to end out the year for them, right? Before you go down that route, let's just give another great match again here. Here's York Hall against 6 guys that are just going to go out and go balls to the wall. Caven, True, and Lacey have absolutely earned that spot. So yeah, mate, I think all of these guys really deserve this match. I think they've all just had a fantastic year. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm really looking forward to seeing what 2025 brings for all of these guys and the story that we're going to get off the back end of this, moving into it for CPF especially. Given that these are 2 matches that we're thinking are going to happen, one certainly is played out a lot more on screen as being something that we think is coming more recent, being this trios match, and potentially down the line a Cutthroat Collective match. I'm going to say that if the Cutthroat Collective do have a match announced, unless it's against Medusa Complex, I think Cutthroat Collective wins. And I think if it's the trios match, I think it's going to be a CPF win.
Yep, I completely agree, mate. I don't see them booking CPF to lose at the moment, and Cutthroat Collective. I do think Cutthroat Collective are in a position where they can lose matches. Of course they can, but I think who is available for them to face if they do get a match, they're not losing that.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. Talking about the fracas that set up a match, it would be remiss of us to ignore the fact that Jay Joshua and Connor Mills are now in a match against Sunshine Machine for the Undisputed British Tag Team titles. This is one that I could see coming as soon as Uprising, but they've told the story nicely with this one. I thought it's been a really nicely told story that, yes, Jay Joshua and Connor Mills to most will be presented as heels. As we've said with RevPro, it's usually shades of grey for these guys, and these 2 especially, they don't feel like they've been particularly heelish, even in the times when there have been pre or post match attacks. It's kind of been presented as, hey, this isn't personal, this is just business, we're just doing what we need to do to get the title opportunities. I think Connor Mills and Jay Joshua have had a great year. Again, considering Jay Joshua hadn't been in RevPro till probably was it April, May time, maybe slightly later. I can't quite get my timings right on that, but middle of the year at least, and that was when he first came in. Mills has been having a great 2024. I can see it's been a really great match. Sunshine Machine, again, they're a team, you know what you're getting with Sunshine Machine. You know the type and the level of match you're getting with them. I just see this being one of the matches of the night quite easily.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I think you've got the quality of wrestler in this match is excellent. You've got a really nice styles clash as well. Jay Joshua can powerhouse like Chuck Mambo around so well. Connor Mills doing all of his like technical and gritty stuff. You've got the potential for a really, really good title defense here. It's probably the match on the card that I'm most caught on for the result. My my heart says Sunshine Machine win. Their title reign's just beginning. They should hold the belts for much longer. But then there's also that part of my head where it's like, well, we had the long Sunshine Machine title run. And maybe we don't need another long Sunshine Machine title run. And Mills and Joshua are hot. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a title change here.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of new tag teams that have come into the division, and they're all babyface tag teams. So you could also look at it as it would be a good tactical move to have a heel team at the top of the division. I think, though, I'm going to go with my heart over my head. It's done me well with Sunshine Machine before, so I'm going to go with a Sunshine Machine win.
Yeah. Surprise to no one, I'm going with Conor Mills, Jay Joshua win. I think it's a couple of things. I think it's the best stories coming out of it. I think Jay Joshua and Conor Mills, really fresh team, really capturing the hearts and minds of people. I know some of the votes that we got through for Tag Team of the Year, this was one of the reasons why I put it on there, but I said about the amount of matches that people could have together, and people were like, oh, they're really bordering like that. Like, this was a team that already people are starting to get behind, which is great to hear. I think they offer something a bit different. I think in terms of top-level tag team on the heel side, I think they automatically are up there. I think they jump Greedy Souls as the top-level tag team. People are calling Mills like the next person in line, like for going up into that triumvirate of Oku, Jacobs, RKJ, that top level for the men's title. So, and that's no disrespect to the guys in Greedy Souls, but I just think that where Mills is at in his run, so to have two really strong heel teams to then be complemented by a True and Lacey would set that side of the tag division up really nicely. Like I said, a lot of babyface teams coming in. It also solves the question of, well, what do you do with Mills if you're not pushing him as a cruiserweight, and he's not going for the main title? Well, here you go. They can dominate the tag team for a division for a while as well. And I just think they're put on great matches. But I also think it tells a more interesting story for Sunshine Machine. I've said this. For me, you don't have to do it with the same stipulation of, well, then they're going to disband forever. You can do it in a way now, if you wanted to do something like that, where there is dissension and a loose breakup happens, but something that obviously brings them back together down the line. I would go one step further and say I would have TK be the one to take the loss. I think that adds a nice story wrinkle into it as well. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Sunshine Machine retain either. But I do think everything for me leans much nicer in the Mills, Jay Joshua winning this match and becoming new tag team champions. Looking at other matches on the card, look, one that is going to be a great match, but probably not a lot to discuss, is Mascara Dorada versus Robbie X. Of course, Dorada was supposed to have a match with Leo Rush at Global Wars. Didn't happen due to travel issues. He and Yota Tsuji did the best they could on the fly, but it feels like, one, this is just a really great wrestler coming over, again, going to be against one of the best cruiserweights in the world. But also, it feels like a bit of a make-do for fans as well. We're going, hey, actually, we're going to give you this match that was probably really highly anticipated there. Let's do this again with Robbie X. But for me, Robbie X has to win this one, right?
I think so, yeah. I'm really excited for this match because Dorada is an unbelievable talent. He's shown that in his J-Cup performances and through Fantastic Mania weekend. And what we've got here is a chance for him to showcase it with one of the very best. You know, it's, if you can't have a great match with Robbie X, then I'm not entirely sure what the problem is there. Because like Robbie, and especially this version of Robbie, this version of Robbie is like takes him to a whole nother level. Because now he gets to demonstrate everything that he's fantastic at consistently. Because a lot of the technical side of wrestling is quite heel orientated.
Mm-hmm.
And he still gets to do all the high flying stuff. Plus, he does more of his technical side of his game, and he gets to show more of his character work by being, a bit of a bellend. And for me, this makes the complete package for Robbie X. I think this is got potential to be match of the night, but I do think Robbie X wins it.
Yeah, absolutely. Who knew Robbie X, like the quintessential babyface, was so good at being an absolute knob? But he does. he just excels in it, doesn't it? Yeah, I think it's really freshened up Robbie X, because I think you can kind of almost take for granted what Robbie X does, right? We've said this before, and I think it's especially for workhorse cruiserweights, where you see it so often, you almost become a little bit numb to it. Like, you're just like, yeah, this is what he does every time. So actually being able to just add some of the heelish elements in there, like you said, do that bit more of technical stuff, but actually just add just the grit to it a little bit more. I think it's really helped him. It's been really great. It feels like a repackaging in a lot of ways. The guy's had a tremendous year, and to see him finally get to wear a t-shirt of some sort for a New Japan faction, especially one as prolific as Bullet Club has been over the years, what an amazing year for that lad. But I would agree as well, Robbie X win. So we're down to the final two matches on the card. First of all, Leon Slater versus Zozaya, 1 hour Ironman match. This one, right, this was an interesting one for me. I've said it all along, like, that I struggle with matches that I know how long they're going to last for, right? Because for me, the sense of jeopardy goes. Even though with an Ironman match, it's about how you book it, right? Because if you're going to book it, you've got to make sure the story is telling the whole way through. And you can't do it WWE style where you just spam it so much at the beginning that, like, Leon goes 4-5 up on Zozaya in 20 minutes, because they're struggling already to beat each other. And that's the story that we were telling going into this, is that they were struggling to beat each other in normal time. That's why it's a 1 hour match. So for me, if this match has a fall before half an hour, it's like, does that serve the story? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of interesting things where I go, I can see where the story is going. So then I think, will I be as invested in the match? Because I know, or I say I know, I don't know, but booking tells me this is what to expect. So I don't know. But what I do know is these guys are tremendous every single time I've seen them step in the ring with each other. I've seen things from these guys that I go, genuinely don't know, like, how they've done that. I've not seen this, like, maybe physically jump out of my seats. The match at the 229 that I was there for, with these two going against each other for the first time, tremendous. So I think this has the potential, in spite of all those things for me that would make it go, this would be harder for me to get into. I think they're firmly going to grab me for this one, and I'm just going to properly get into it. What about you? What are you feeling?
I'm so fascinated by it. It's hugely ambitious. And that's what I'm so fascinated by. I'm fascinated to see, can they do something truly special here? I genuinely believe they can. I think there are enough minds in RevPro to create something that is, like, worthy of a 60-minute Ironman match. I wouldn't be surprised at all to find out that Ospreay's got a hand in formatting this match. I'd imagine that he had a hand in the dog collar match earlier in the year at York Hall, and that this will be similar. I think for me, I can't call who wins it. I can't call how the falls are going to go. I think that it's so unprecedented that that's probably why I'm having such a hard time kind of formulating my ideas on it, because we've never had a match like this. So I don't, I've seen RevPro do 2 out of 3 falls. I've seen them do longer matches when you don't know it's going to be a longer match. I've seen a lot, but I've not seen this, and that's probably what's making me kind of like, be so on the fence.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've got to pick a winner. I'm going to pick Zozaya.
Yeah, and you
I
know
can't
what?
really give you much of a reason why.
No.
I just feel like the way he's been booked this year, they'll go with him.
Interesting. I've everything you said there. I think I agree with. I can't see who the winner is, and I can't give you a good reason for a winner. So just to play devil's advocate to make things more exciting, I'm going Leon Slater. Perfect. Right, takes us on to the main event, Dave. Undisputed British Heavyweight Championship match. Rematch from the Copper Box. Michael Oku versus Luke Jacobs. Up there, definitely as one of the best matches of 2024.
Yep.
And most of the best matches of 2024 that I can think of at the top of my head include one of these two guys, right? So
yep.
put them against each other in a rematch from such a great match, a great night. It's going to deliver, right? We know this. So I'm not going to talk much about the actual match itself in terms of the in-ring quality, right? We know what these guys can bring. To me, that we kind of, it felt a bit odd how we set it up a little bit with so many losses for the guys on the way up. I know there was mitigating circumstances for that. So, but I do think that these guys can recapture the heat and really, really play into all of the history they've got. For me, what this comes down to, more than anything, is how does the night end and what are the implications going forward? Yeah. And that's helping me pick, right? So I'm not even going to talk about the actual match, and that probably sounds like I'm being disrespectful to the guys. Not at all. In fact, I've got full confidence in them drawing from the great match they had at the Copper Box and enhancing it, right? We saw what Oku did with RKJ. We saw what Oku did with Will Ospreay for the matches I've had before. We've seen what Jacobs and Ishii did as recent as Doncaster Global Wars, right? So we know they've got the ability to pull from these big matches, and this rivalry will have exactly that there. I can see two scenarios here, and one is for each of the men in the match. I could see a scenario where Oku takes the title, okay? And you have him going into 2025. A lot of reasons to do it from a commercial sense as well. Oku's very hot, very hip as well to some of the names abroad. Oku going on to the Jericho Cruise as RevPro champion January when there's going to be no shows. That could just be a good little thing for them as well. You could then transition Young Guns into the tag team division next year. Okay, so you use the star power across the divisions. You have Luke Jacobs win, and the story of, well, I'm not leaving without my title. Where does that go for Oku?
Mm-hmm.
Two things that I do see happening here. Either way, whoever ends up champion, I see being left prone by returning Ricky Knight Jr. That is one thing I see happening no matter what. He has gone home and he's been largely forgotten about for a few months now. He makes a statement return, I foresee. But if I have to really put my cowboy hat on it, I'm going to say Luke Jacobs retains. And no matter who wins, actually, I see this is where the Michael Oku heel turn really kicks in. Right? I'm not saying it happens now, but we've talked about this and we've seen. So over the year, one of the comments that I can see that we've got right on the awards that people are putting in is one of two. It's really interesting. It's people saying about Babyface of the Year, right? And when people are writing their thoughts, not just who they think will win, but thoughts on other people, and they all keep saying the same thing. But it's been showing some heelish stuff. Like, it's been a bit more aggression, it's been a bit more this. And even then with some, people are saying, I don't know why the crowd's booing Michael Oku. And I think it's by design. I genuinely do. Like, there is a lot more aggression out of Oku than we've seen or been used to for so long. And this, I'm not leaving without my title. That was very Ospreay when he was on his way out. Okay?
Yep.
And Ospreay was the heel, right? He was the babyface coming in, but he was the heel. And that was how he played it the whole time. And that's where I'm seeing 100%, Oku go.
Like, the Copper Box, Oku made fans boo for him. Like, 100% that was intended. because you just know there are certain things you do in wrestling that get a crowd reaction. When you start like grounding and pounding somebody, or when you start stomping on their head, you're gonna get boos. And effectively that's what Oku did. I'm really struggling with this as to how this one goes, and I love that. I do love that, because what I'm not struggling with is the match is going to be incredible.
Yeah,
like every this is match number 5. The first was in Southampton. The second was in Manchester. The third was in the 229. The fourth was at the Copper Box, and this is the 5th one. I saw third and fourth, and they were incredible. 2 matches of the year, one for 2023, one for this year.
Yeah,
this one undoubtedly will be a success in my eyes for the quality of match. It will be match of the night. I said Dorada and Robbie X had like match of the night potential. But this will be match of the night.
Yeah,
I cannot believe that it won't be. Even if Leon and Zozaya deliver on their hour-long Iron Man match, this has so much more in terms of emotion and history going into it.
I would agree.
I don't know what to make of where we go with it, because how Sheffield finished, mate, you talk about moments of the year, that was special. Luke Jacobs, like him, Chris Ridgway and Ethan Allen demolished Michael Oku. They were then vile to Amira.
Yeah.
Like literally holding her back so she had to watch, like calling her every name under the sun. And then the silent, long period of everyone just watching as Amira tried to lift Michael Oku up. That was... That will live with me for a long time.
It was really devastating. Yeah. You know what I would say it reminded me of a lot? It reminded me a lot of the ending of the 229 where the Cutthroat Collective came in. It just felt that level of violent.
Oh yeah. Like that. This genuinely, this will be in my top 3 moments of the year. That match.
Yeah.
That ending of that match, 100% it will be.
Yeah.
So I don't see how Michael Oku can turn heel out of that. But at the same time, I see RKJ returning. So then I'm like, is Luke Jacobs going to go full blown heel now? And if he does, is RKJ going to return as the babyface to face him? Will the fans accept Ricky as a babyface? That seems like a risk. I don't know where it goes.
Yeah.
And although I'm curious and trusting of the process, normally it's like, I think either one's going to work really well, and I'm just excited to see which one it is. Yeah. Whereas this time I'm like, I'm really kind of confused by it. Because I can't piece together how I think it will go.
Yeah.
Whereas normally I can piece together 2 or 3 different options. And that's not to say I'm confused by the booking or confused by the decisions, because I'm not. I'm just confused how they're going to get from A to D. I don't see where B and C fit in.
That's fair.
But what I'm certain of is this show is going to have a shocking moment closer, because it is a season finale, because it's your call, because they always finish on something special.
Yeah.
Whether it was my first dual call when Ospreay had Oku bloodied and lifeless in the ring, whether it was my favourite York call when Trent Seven ran off with the British Heavyweight Championship, there's always something at the end that gets you like hooked, ready to buy your next ticket.
Yeah, agreed. So, who are you picking to?
Well, I haven't played my Joker card.
No, you haven't.
And that is because I'm putting my Joker on Luke Jacobs.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. So you know what then? I'm gonna again. I think again I was probably gonna go Luke, but I'm gonna devil's advocate a little bit here, make things a bit spicy, a bit more interesting. Not only am I not gonna agree, and the gap could widen even more. I'm gonna put the money on Michael Oku walking out as champion here, and that's because while I think Luke is gonna be the guy who does it, I can foresee a scenario where Oku wins. I don't see it as cut and dry as maybe I would have seen other title matches at certain points of the year. This one, to me, I feel is like if he walks away as champion, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. And that's the beauty of this match. Like you said, we're looking at all the different things. I cannot foresee anything but this being like the genesis point of the Michael Oku heel turn. Right? I'm not saying that he turns heel in a dramatic way, but I can see this as either the start of Michael Oku cheating to win or something, winning in nefarious means, which is a bit unlike him, or I can see it being the start of Michael Oku breakdown. Right? That's either way for me. It's that. But I love that that's where I'm seeing it, and you go, I just can't see after last week how they can go that route.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of what they're doing here. And like I said, people might look at that and go, well, it's confusion. And there are bits of, like we said, there's a bit more confused about how we're going to get from here to here to here. But we know what the booking's taken up. We know that these guys have got in them to do this. So that's what I'm going with. End the year on that. You've picked this as your Joker match. I've picked that. So, Dave, I think we've done a really good job here running down the card. I think we've picked some great winners there. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it turns out on Saturday. I'm really looking forward to seeing what our score totals are for this.
Yeah, so me too. This is a nice little layer to the previews, mate. I like it.
Absolutely, my friend. Well, you know what, Dave? Let's end it there. It's been a great year discussing this stuff with you. We'll obviously be back between Christmas and New Year to discuss end of the year awards that we're going to do. But this is going to be our last show proper. Enjoy it on Saturday, and we'll be back February full time with shows. But catch us on the channel in between Christmas and February, where we're going to have a lot more discussion on things that we could see happening throughout 2025, all of that good stuff, and maybe an interview or two in there as well. But until then, we are out of here.
Cheers, man. See you later.